First, I think it's really important to just know your why, because I feel like people come to AmeriCorps for a lot of different reasons. The number one probably being you just don't know what to do with your life. And honestly, that's part of the reason I did it, and I think that's part of the reason a lot of people do it. It's to dip their toes in an organization and see what it's like and maybe just do something meaningful for you. Another reason is probably that you're really interested in service and you really want to work directly with an organization that's doing something impactful, because a lot of times with jobs you're kind of not really seeing the direct impact and you're not doing exactly what you might have envisioned when you were younger. So AmeriCorps does provide a lot of strong direct service. Ultimately, there's a lot of good reasons to do AmeriCorps, and I don't think there's really one reason that triumphs all the other ones. I think it's just important to know your why, because that's really going to drive you throughout your entire service year. Let's start with the cons. Number one, and this is definitely going to be one you notice pretty often almost throughout your entire service year, is going to be the pay. Because AmeriCorps only provides a living stipend, which actually doesn't even account for the education award that you get as a result of your service year. So basically you're going to be getting paid a very low amount, barely enough to survive on in a lot of cities, which is especially a problem if you are needing to live within a metro area to survive for that entire service year. To put this into perspective, I'm living in the Washington, D.C. area, and my stipend is a little bit under $1,300, and my net is a little bit under $1,100. Now, if you're living in any city by yourself and paying your own rent per month, it's probably going to be about that, if not more. And that was a situation for me. Luckily, there are certain things you can do, such as live on the outskirts of a city, live in a less expensive area, and also go on things such as food stamps, just because you kind of have to do that if you want to do a service year and also live on your own. Another con is that you're essentially an employee while you're making this pay. And that is that if you're doing a full-time service year, you're going to be expected to work 40 hours a week, grinding, usually in nonprofits, small teams, organizations that don't have a lot of resources. So you're essentially functioning as an employee but getting paid as an AmeriCorps member. One last con I should mention, which has probably been exacerbated for me by the pandemic, is that burnout is really high in a lot of these kinds of positions, given that you are working with very high need, at-risk populations that are oftentimes experiencing trauma, and there's really high demands for you on the job to provide important services to these populations, and also there's going to be a lot of challenges that come with working with these populations. However, that really is the core and the crux of the work. That's really why it's so rewarding and why AmeriCorps is known for being so impactful. It's time to get to the pros, and believe me, at this point, 9 months into my service here, I can say that the pros certainly outweigh the cons. The first pro being that the work you're doing is incredibly impactful. If you're really interested in service, think of those mission trips, those days of service, and kind of imagine that being your day-to-day job and your day-to-day responsibilities. That's why AmeriCorps is kind of draws so many people and is so impactful, because you're really doing very strong direct service and you're helping people in communities that are really in need of your support and assistance. Another major pro has got to be the people you're working alongside, and the reason is because I think it takes a certain type of person to dedicate an entire year of their life towards service, specifically at such a low pay in a society that's really so focused on money, attainment, productivity, things like that. You're going to meet people who have that same mindset as you, which is that they want to do something impactful. They've probably been involved in service for many years, and also they're kind of all in on what they're doing. So really the kind of people you meet during your AmeriCorps service year makes the work seem so much easier and so much more meaningful, because you're doing it with people who share that similar mindset to you. One last pro, and it's one that's often emphasized by AmeriCorps itself, which I really can say is pretty accurate, is that you will gain significant work experience. Now, going back to the reason that a lot of people do it, which is that they don't know exactly what they want to do, or maybe they had some trouble finding a job or having the right skills, a lot of AmeriCorps positions will give you valuable work experience, given that they're positions within organizations that organizations do not have funding for staff positions, so they create AmeriCorps positions for them where they get funding from the federal and state government. In my current position, I serve as a program coordinator for several educational youth programs. And the reason that I kind of have this idea that it is a staff position is, one, because I've been told that by the organization, that if they have the funding, they'll make it a staff position. And two, it's because all the other AmeriCorps positions are facilitators for these programs. So in essence, I'm kind of working a staff position where I'm getting significant experience building the program, working with community partners, managing budgets, things like that. Things that are very directly applicable to other jobs outside of AmeriCorps are skills that I'm building and learning throughout the year, and then I have to present to employers after I finish my service year. If AmeriCorps is something you've always wanted to do, and the financial side doesn't worry you as much because either you live at home, you've kind of figured it out, you have a lot saved, anything like that, I would highly recommend doing an AmeriCorps service year. It's something that's very unique and I think is really great to do after college. It gives you a better sense of the world and the fact that you're working specifically within communities, and also you're getting a little bit of time and work experience in between going full-fledged into the workforce. So even though there's a lot of challenges during the year, such as burnout, the financial side, and kind of the high demands of the position, I think the pros, which is gaining significant work experience, working with like-minded people, and really doing such impactful work are going to outweigh those cons any day.